Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're tearing into one of the most volatile AI stocks out there, especially in the defense sector, BigBear.ai Holdings. And the big question we always ask is BigBear.ai Holdings a good time to buy right now? Before we really jump in, just a quick reminder. If you find this kind of analysis helpful, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like. It really helps. We try to build these conversations around what you need to know. And hey, if there's a specific company you want us to look at, seriously, just drop it in the comments below.
Yeah, definitely let us know. Our goal today really is to cut through, all the intense speculation surrounding BigBear.ai. We're going to unpack their latest financial filings, really analyze their competitive spot in that government AI space, and take a close look at the technical signals, see what the charts are telling us, basically figure out if this volatility is justified by fundamentals or if it's just, well, hype.
Okay, let's start with the fundamentals then, because the Q2 2025 report, it presents a pretty stark contrast, doesn't it? On one side, operations look, well, frankly, terrible. Revenues slumped to just $32.47 million for the quarter. That's a pretty worrying drop year over year from almost $40 million back in Q2 2024.
Right. A company that's supposed to be in growth mode, in AI no less, seeing revenue shrink. That's a big red flag operationally. But the number that really grabbed the headlines, the one everyone noticed, was the net loss for the quarter. A truly staggering $228.62 million.
Wow, a $228 million loss on, what, $32 million in revenue? That just sounds completely unsustainable. How do you even square that for a company working on defense contracts?
Okay, yeah, that number looks insane on the surface. This is where we need to, put on our accountant hats for a second. That massive loss, it was heavily, heavily inflated by non-cash charges. Two big things stand out, non-operating items, really. First, there was a $70.64 million goodwill impairment charge.
Okay, can you break that down a bit for us? What exactly does a goodwill impairment tell us about the company's health?
Sure. It's basically management saying, oops, we overpaid for companies we bought in the past. Goodwill is that intangible asset, the premium you pay over the fair value of what you actually acquired. When they decide that acquired value isn't worth as much anymore, they have to write it down. It hits the net income, looks bad on the P&L, but doesn't actually cost some cash today. Still, it's an admission that past decisions maybe weren't the best.
Right, so an accounting loss, but still a signal about, well, the value of what they own. What was the second big non-cash hit then?
The other major piece came from derivative liabilities. These are tied to their convertible notes. These things are complex financial instruments, and their value on paper can swing wildly based on the stock price, interest rates, things like that. So these changes force a lot of volatility into the reported earnings number, even if day-to-day operations aren't directly involved. A paper liability can suddenly balloon or shrink.
Okay, that context is crucial, because while the operating picture looks rough, the balance sheet, maybe surprisingly, looks incredibly strong right now. Cash and cash equivalents just shot up to $390.85 million as of June 30th, 2025. I mean, that's a massive jump from only about $50 million at the end of 2024. How on earth did they pull that off?
Yeah, that jump shows they prioritized survival, getting stable. They pulled off a pretty significant fundraising effort. They raised roughly $300 million, mostly through an at-the-market equity offering, an ATM offering, plus some cash from warrant conversions.
So they basically sold stock, diluted existing shareholders to get that immediate cash infusion for stability.
That's exactly it. Trade future dilution for present survival. And it worked, short term anyway. This cash influx totally stabilized their equity structure. Stockholders' equity went from a deficit, actually, to a positive $266.55 million. It's stabilization, but it's entirely funded by external money. Gives them runway, but they bought it.
Okay, so they have this huge cash safety net now, but let's look beyond that. What are they actually doing? Their core operation, providing AI-driven decision analytics, mostly for national security, defense, intelligence clients. This should be a hot sector, right? Given world events, the AI boom.
It absolutely should be. It's critical, high-value stuff. But that also means it's incredibly competitive and very sensitive to government budgets and politics. BigBear.ai is kind of squeezed,
Right.
On one side, you've got the huge established defense giants. Think your Raytheons, your Lockheeds. They have deep roots, decades-long relationships, integrated systems with the DoD, intelligence agencies. They're really hard to push aside.
The incumbents. And the other side of the squeeze.
That's the newer, often nimbler, sometimes better-funded AI analytics startups. You hear names like Palantir mentioned in this space. They're known for being aggressive, grabbing market share with potentially more cutting-edge tech. BigBear.ai is stuck in the middle. They have to constantly prove they're both reliable, like the big guys, and innovative, like the startups. It's tough to carve out a sustainable niche against those forces.
Hmm. Well, the company does try to point to future promise. They cite this big $380 million backlog of contracts. To a casual observer, that sounds like years of guaranteed work.
That's the hook, isn't it? The $380 million sounds great. But here's the absolutely critical piece of context, the catch that tones down the excitement considerably. Yes, it's mostly federal contracts, but, and this is huge, only 4% of that total backlog is currently funded.
Wait, only 4%. So out of $380 million, we're talking about, what, roughly $15 million that's actually locked in, guaranteed revenue coming soon? And the rest is just potential, contingent on future budgets or approvals.
You got it. Exactly right. The government might have signaled intent, signed some preliminary agreement, but until Congress or the agency actually allocates the money, it's stuck. It's not real revenue yet. And this uncertainty, this is what directly forced management to slash their full-year revenue forecast way down to $125 to $140 million. They specifically blamed the delay, the postponement of these critical but unfunded government contracts. The intent is there, maybe, but the cash isn't flowing.
Wow, okay. That lack of certainty connects right back to the financial structure. You mentioned those derivative liabilities earlier. Is the balance sheet really as clean as that big $390 million cash pile suggests, or are there still risks lurking there?
Oh, there are definitely significant risks still lurking, tied directly to how their debt is structured. We have to look at those derivative liabilities again. In Q2, they totaled $193.20 million, and that includes a cap, a specific value of $169.14 million, tied to the conversion option on their 2029 notes.
Which means what for the bottom line?
It means their reported earnings, their net income, is likely going to stay extremely volatile. It's not just about, how much software they sell or their operating costs. It's the constant need to revalue these complex liabilities on paper. That can swing net income wildly quarter to quarter. You could even have a situation where, say, the stock price goes up, good news, right? But that could actually increase the paper liability, making the recorded loss look worse because of these derivatives. It's counterintuitive.
Okay, so inherent complexity, potential accounting weirdness,
Right.
and operational uncertainty. That leads us perfectly into the stock's main personality trait. Volatility. The shares are just constantly bouncing, seems like, in that $1 to $2.30 range.
All right.
And yeah, you see these swings 10% or more on almost no real news sometimes.
Absolutely. And the technical charts pretty much confirm this. It looks like a stock trading more on sentiment and hitting technical walls, not on any clear fundamental direction right now. You see the 50-day moving average stuck below the 200-day. That's, the classic sign of a neutral to bearish trend in the medium term. And other indicators like RSI and MCD, they're pretty flat too, suggest there's just no sustained momentum, no conviction buying from long-term players.
So the technical traders are maybe sitting back, but the speculators seem to be having a field day. We saw that, last month? Shares jumped 17% in a single day. No big company news explaining it. What causes those kinds of pops?
Yeah, that's often what happens when you have maybe high short interest, not a lot of shares easily available to trade, and then intense retail speculation kicks in, amplified by, social media buzz. When the underlying story is kind of weak, like the shrinking revenue or that unfunded backlog, the stock just becomes a playground for high-risk trades. Any little hint of good news, even something relatively small like that commercial deployment they announced at Nashville International Airport, it creates instant excitement. People jump on it. The market's just desperate for any sign they can diversify away from those uncertain government contracts.
Right, any signal. Speaking of signals, what are the key dates or events coming up that investors really need to watch, the things that could trigger the next big swing in sentiment?
Okay, there are three really crucial short-term catalysts to keep an eye on. First up, the Q3 earnings report. That should land sometime in October or November 2025. This will be the first real look at whether that revenue decline is maybe bottoming out or if Q2 was just the beginning of a worse trend.
Okay, Q3 earnings. What's number 2?
Number 2 is institutional activity, specifically the 13F filings. Those are due around November 4th, 2025. This tells us if the big money, the large sophisticated funds who do deep homework are actually starting to buy shares in size, or if it's still mainly retail folks and short-term traders playing around, seeing big institutional names start building positions, that could be a really significant vote of confidence.
Got it. And the last key date?
A contract backlog update, probably around December 2nd, 2025. Given how critical that 4% funding issue is, the market will be laser focused. Any sign that those delayed government deals are starting to get funded, turning from promises into actual cash flow, that would be huge. It could really lessen the impact of that guidance cut.
Makes sense. And then, of course, bubbling under the surface, you always have the rumors feeding the speculation, right? The chatter about a potential huge new DoD contract win, maybe more commercial deals like the airport one, and ongoing M&A talk in that government AI space. It's all about hope driving risk-taking.
Exactly. So, given everything we've kind of dissected here, we really need to summarize the absolute core risks for anyone even thinking about this stock. First, there's the fundamental going concern risk. I mean, you have severe operating losses, a heavy reliance on raising outside money. Yes, they just got a big cash injection, but the pattern of burning cash is alarming.
Which loops back to the fundraising and those derivatives we talked about.
Precisely. The next big risk, especially for anyone holding the stock now, is dilution. That $300 million ATM raise already diluted everybody significantly. And with those high derivative liabilities still in the books, any future stumble or even success that triggers conversions might force them to sell more stock, constantly watering down the value of existing shares.
And the third major risk, tied right to their business model.
Yeah, the contract concentration risk. Being so heavily reliant on those unpredictable, federally funded government contracts makes them incredibly vulnerable. Budget delays, regulatory changes, political wins in Congress.
Yeah.
They aren't really masters of their own fate here. They're kind of beholden to the federal budgeting cycle.
Okay, so summing it all up, a company with this massive cash pile, $390 million, great. But at the same time, huge operating losses, shrinking revenue, serious dilution risk. What's the final verdict here for someone looking to invest?
Look, the overall investment picture, balancing the risks and potential rewards, it leads to a pretty low rating for anyone thinking long term. We have to acknowledge the positives, right? They do have that strong cash position now. They operate in a relevant, important niche AI for defense. And there is potential for big contracts in that backlog eventually. But honestly, the negatives just feel overwhelming today. You've got revenue shrinking, deep and persistent operating losses, very high dilution risk, and just huge uncertainty about execution. Can they really compete effectively against the big guys and the nimble startups? It's unclear.
So boiling it down, what does this mean for you, the listener, looking at BigBear.ai right now?
It means this stock is firmly in the high risk category. It's emphatically not attractive for long-term investment or if you're trying to preserve capital. Really, it only seems suitable for very aggressive short-term traders, speculators hoping to catch those volatile pops driven by news or rumors. That's it. Before this could even be considered investable for the long haul, you'd need to see two major things change. First, consistent, sustained improvement in their margins. And second, a clear, believable path to actual profitability, not just accounting adjustments, but real operating profit. And, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. Considering those deep operating losses, the negative free cash flow we saw in Q2, how many quarters can that recently raised $300 million actually sustain the company before they have to either find more outside funding or achieve a massive operational turnaround? That cash runway, how long it lasts, that's the real ticking clock for BigBear.ai.
That is definitely something to chew on as you watch those catalyst dates coming up this fall and winter. A very powerful question. Thank you for joining us for this conversation today. We'll catch you next time on Investing Talk Podcast.